Hey fellas, welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be looking at A24's newest piece, The Humans. So The Humans is a film that was adapted from a stage play, and the director of this film is actually the one that did the Broadway piece. It's got Richard Jenkins, Beanie Feldstein, Steven Yeun, and Amy Schumer in it. Yeah, I know, Amy fucking Schumer. One thing I can say about A24, they're really good at getting actors and actresses with not the best reputation, just saying, hey, we're going to see you in the Oscars, right? We'll see you in the Oscars. So, The Humans centers on Beanie Feldstein and Steven Yeun, who play a young couple who are just moving into their new apartment, and they're having Beanie Feldstein's character's family over, which is Richard Jenkins as the father, Amy Schumer as the sister, and, you know, their mother and their grandmother who has Alzheimer's. They're having them over for Thanksgiving, and basically what the film centers around is that as the day plays out, and these people are amongst each other, and as that time goes on, this family starts butting heads, and secrets are let out, and traumas are exposed, and different demons that each individual character deals with are released, and the whole piece just kind of unravels in a psychological horror-esque fashion, family drama. Now I say horror-esque because one thing that really grabbed me about this movie specifically is the director's intentions on crafting this film as a horror film. So he didn't make a horror film. This is not a horror film, but everything about it, its atmosphere and its tension and its build-up, and with each act going into more deeper territory, it is that atmosphere of a horror film. It's got horror elements to it. It is a very dark film, literally. It is a dark film that is centered on shadowing and is centered on fear and trauma and existential dread and a lot of things that humans kind of fear and have problems with connecting with. But yes, I was really excited to see how the director was going to kind of go with that layout for this specific film. Not that this film doesn't already have kind of like, you know, an unsettling feel to it. It is a very uncomfortable film because it is a very realistic and very mature and bleak film. One thing I can say about this film is that it does literally live up to its name, The Humans. I'm gonna say, guys, this is a very humane movie. It is very uncomfortable, it is very dreadful, it is got a really interesting way of building tension and suspense that feels very raw and realistic. Again, this is not a horror film, but with a premise like this, and with how great the cinematography and the directing is, this really does feel like a horror stage play. Again, there's not necessarily anything scary about it, but the way that everything builds up, the tension as well as the cinematography, especially in this film, all work extremely well together in a very uncomfortable nature. And one thing I can say about this film is that if what you're going in for example, if you're like me who is going in for to not necessarily get a horror film, but kind of see how the director and his intentions with that kind of nature were going to build up in a, you know, artsy drama about, you know, family trauma. If you're going into it for that reasoning, this is a film that is very well crafted in a very specific way. Again, it's got a history of being on Broadway, and it's bringing back that same director, as well as an ensemble cast that I can absolutely say this film, it feels like, for as big of a plot that it really does have, for like as expansive and deep rooted that is, and with a beautiful background and beautiful setup that it has with its cinematography and directing, don't let this sound like it's a flaw or anything, but it is all done in such a simple way. Simple in the fashion of this movie is not trying to reach limits that aren't necessary. It's not trying to throw in things that aren't realistic. It's trying to do a deep psychological evaluation about human and more so family trauma. Again, this is a film that centers on, you know, family who are all dealing with their own individual demons and have their own secrets and have their own uncomfortabilities, and it does well with how each individual person, how their secrets are exposed and how their demons are brought up and kind of, you know, confronted more or less. And that is the big thing about this movie. While it doesn't have anything really specific or standoutish that it's trying to sell, everything that it does have in it that may seem really minimal on paper is all done very, very well. And the absolute best thing that this film does is that each one of these characters has their own individual flavor to the film. They're all dealing with their own things. They all have their own kind of personality. They have their own, routes that they're going on with the journey of this movie. And that is probably my favorite thing about this movie, is that each character was so exciting. They had their own story that was very deep and very intense and very, worth getting into. That, again, I know I'm saying this a lot, that the humanity behind it, the rawness, how humane it felt, that this didn't exactly feel like more so of a film, but more so a behind the scenes of a realistic family that is, trying to be okay for Thanksgiving, and just naturally their toxicities are coming, to the front. And that is where the horror aspects are going to come into play here. This is not a scary movie. This is an uncomfortable film. This is a psychological drama, and everything about it really works, except there are some nitpicks I have with it, which is basically what I said earlier, weirdly enough, is that everything is done very simple, and while it's all done really well, at the end of the day, this really isn't one that, I'm not going to say isn't meant for rewatching. There is, rewatchability with it. It is a film that you definitely should analyze, and is definitely, worth that time, and kind of, built onto that structure, as well as the way that the film just even looks. It is a very beautiful film through and through. It is a very flawless looking film. It's got very good setup and very good cinematography and directing, and the performances in each character's lore is so impressive and so realistic and very well done. What I'm saying is that everything that the movie does, it does very well with. But at the end of the day, it does really feel like a minimal piece. Maybe because it is just done in such a fashion that is really just meant for, just a mental, view on humans, pretty much. And a lot of people aren't really going to get that if they're not really those type of people. I feel like the only people that are really going to resonate with this film is is people that can relate to trauma and, different things in life that really make a human, uncomfortable, and really, are hard for people in general to process. That is exactly what this film is building on, and that is exactly what this film displays. So I think a lot of people are going to go into this film expecting certain things, and not only not get those, but everything else about the movie is just going to be very, kind of outspoken to them, and very just kind of slow, and not really have much to give as far as what they're expecting out of a, what people have grown to think when they hear a movie. This is a very bleak movie. It's a very deep-rooted movie, and it is a movie that is very mature, and I'm not going to say it's necessarily directed toward a specific audience, but it is again, saying this, it is a very humane piece. And I'm not sure how many people will really kind of be on board with that and really will get this movie. Again, it is a very slow film. A lot of the time we're really trying to wait and figure out and, see what the movie's actually trying to display and what story it's actually trying to tell. But at the end of the day, this is a film, I think, that is more so for people who are appreciative of structure. This is a film that really wants people to analyze and think, and this is a film that is absolutely meant for people who appreciate not necessarily films, but the actual craft and structure and realism of what can be in a film. And again, I didn't necessarily see anything quote-unquote wrong with the movie. I think that there's, nothing really that the movie did wrong. While it does have a lot to give and, even has some rewatchability, at the end of it all, it is, again, going back to what I said earlier, a very simple movie. It's a movie that says what it wants to say, and it does that, and it doesn't build on it at all, and it doesn't, sugarcoat it all. It says what it wants to say, very specific things, and it leaves it at that. This is not a film that tries to, be explosive or tries to be the next big thing or is a Hollywood movie. It is a film that wants to tell a very specific story, and it wants to do just that. So I think that people are going to be watching this film expecting some big payoff or some big, reveal, or are going to expect something that, is going to really put this movie in a very specific spot. And it's not like that. It's just a film that wants to tell a story, an important story, a story that a lot of people are interested, I think. And it just, it doesn't want to do anything that pushes that or stretches that. It just wants to say that story. And what it comes down to is, if you understand the story, that is what's going to sell you. I mean, and sure, the cast, Richard Jenkins, Stephen Yeun, everybody does a very good job about, acting like a family. This film, these people in this film, they feel very much like a family, and everything is told in a very raw and realistic and not sugar-coated way. And that's the biggest thing that really got my attention, is that this felt believable, this felt honest, it felt raw, it was emotional a lot of times, it was very intense, but in saying that, it was all very psychological, it was all very mental, and a lot of that is because it was very relatable. Again, this is a very humane film, and only certain people are going to, I think, really get to the level what this movie is trying to get at. But in saying that, for what the movie was actually trying to say and what it, actually did choose to touch on, I feel like it did pretty well. I'm gonna give The Humans a 6.3. Just because I don't personally see myself coming back to this one. It does have rewatchability to it. It does have aspects that are, definitely worth checking into from time to time. And just, again, just watching the movie play out, it is a very beautiful film. The acting performances are definitely worth watching over and over again. But I just personally, it's a film for me where it's just like, once I see it, I'm good. I understand the story. I got everything I wanted to get from it. And while I feel like it did do very well with that, it's not really a movie I see myself going out and really, picking out of the bunch and really sitting down and watching again. It's more so a movie, what's a good word to describe this? I appreciate it. It's a very appreciative movie. It could be a lot more of what it actually displays on screen. It all seems very minimal on paper, but it really is a subtle film that is all about the process of, revealing things and grief and trauma. And I feel like for that aspect, it does fine with. So guys, that is going to do it for my review of The Humans. Let me know what you thought in the comments down below. And guys, I want to say really quickly, thank you so much for my previous video of South Park post-COVID review. A lot of you were extremely supportive and extremely uplifting and positive with that. You guys gave me a lot of closure. It was a very welcoming video. It is the best performing video I've ever done on the channel, and there were a lot of new faces as well that were just extremely supportive of it and really extremely supportive of my overall, critic display or whatever you want to call it. And I just had to just let that out there. You guys are phenomenal. You guys are fantastic. You guys are such a good audience, and I appreciate every single one of you. But yes, guys, that is going to do it for my video. I hope you guys had a good Thanksgiving. I hope you guys got a lot of good, sweeties on Black Friday. I know I did. Maybe I'll do a Black Friday haul video. We'll see. But my next video for sure is going to be The Last Duel, which starts streaming on November 30th. So I'm really looking forward to that. I hope you guys are too. And let me know if you guys have seen The Humans, what you guys thought about it below. This is definitely a film I could see myself really wanting to talk about for, long after. Again, it is a film I really appreciated, but it's not one I see myself really going out and kind of, digging deeper with. But yes, guys, let me know what you guys thought about the video and about the movie, and I will see you guys in the next review. Thank you so much.